Nozintombi Miya is covering that. Very good afternoon to Nozintombi. Tell us what's happening.
Very good afternoon to you, Nzinga. As you can see behind me, the SABC lunchtime picket has officially begun, and we do see that the SABC workers, a majority of whom have received retrenchment letters, as well as civil bodies and political parties have come in their numbers. We've seen organizations such as the ANC and the EFF protesting from as early as 9:30 this morning. And so far, Nzinga, what's happened is that the current manager of the foreign desk, Ms. Sophie Mokoena, has had an opportunity to address the crowd, and she's saying that workers are adamant they do not want retrenchments, and they want management to be held accountable for what they call going through a retrenchment system that has not followed due processes. Nzinga.
Nozintombi, what kind of political parties, civil society organizations and the like are represented at that lunchtime picket?
So far, we do know that members of the ANC Youth League, as well as members of the EFF, have been coming in their numbers since about 9:30 this morning. And what they're saying is that they simply don't understand what it is that has been happening. We do know that the SABC board is expected to convene later today, as well as to meet urgently with members of SANEF. We do know that last night that the board members had met with the portfolio committee, as well as the Minister of Communications, as well as the Deputy Minister of Communications. And it does seem at the moment as though the board and all these different parties do not seem to be speaking with one voice. The board is adamant that they are going to go ahead with the retrenchments, while the Minister of Communication and the Deputy Minister of Communications is saying that an alternative needs to be found to find a way to break this impasse. And this is echoed by political parties, by civil bodies, as well as it being echoed by staff members who themselves have received retrenchment letters in Nzinga.
Nozintombi, we heard Aubrey Chabalala from the Communication Workers Union saying that management and the board don't seem to understand the power of workers, and telling our colleague Mbongeni Muta that it's not an idle threat, that they will take the SABC off air if those letters are not retracted. Tell us more about what you're hearing workers on the ground say there.
So we do know for sure that the CWU has given management 48 hours notice of a strike intention, and they will be protesting. They will be doing a full protest on Friday, which is tomorrow, and they're calling it a Red Friday. And CWU will be joined with different labor unions. And we know that the other union, called BMAU at the SABC, has gone to the labor court to try and get the retrenchments halted. And ultimately, what the CWU is saying and what BMAU is saying, and civil organization, is that management needs to retract the letters. And today's meeting in Nzinga with the board members, as well as with SANEF, will be a very strong indicator as to whether or not the retrenchment process will continue or the letters will be withdrawn. And we have heard from some quarters a call now for the board members, for the board itself to be dissolved so that new board members can be chosen, so that a resolution can be found to the issue of retrenchments. And if it does go to that, that really will be quite an extreme reaction to the situation. This is why the labor unions such as CW and BMAU are calling on the board to retract the retrenchments and find alternative ways of dealing with this issue in Nzinga.
Nozintombi, we know that the public broadcaster is meant to serve all people living in South Africa and beyond. We also know that people, because of this public service mandate, have an interest in what happens. There's been a concern particularly around the interference of political parties in the SABC. There's also been concern about the kind of reporting that the public broadcaster has done, involving in part the African National Congress and more. Perhaps you can find out from your guests or talk to us about where the line is between wanting to protect workers and having an interest, as everybody should, in the public broadcaster, and where that changes into interference.
So, Nzinga, what Sophie said that was quite interesting earlier is that the SABC has a mandate to ensure that they broadcast to all corners of South Africa, and that retrenching workers and submitting retrenchment letters to workers either in the Kimberley office, the Bloemfontein office, the PE office, the KZN office, the Pretoria office, the Johannesburg office, all offices where there is a wide spectrum of languages, of programming, is going to negatively affect the public service mandate that the SABC has. The SABC's mandate to the people of South Africa to be able to report impartially and fairly. And in terms of political interference, what we've seen so far is that political parties have lent their support to the workers in terms of the issue of the retrenchments, not necessarily that they themselves want to interfere in the editorial policies of the SABC in Zinga.
Nozintombi Miya giving us an update there. SABC workers alongside political parties and other interested groups are protesting over the Section 189 process. 400 people are set to receive letters. The SABC has said that there are around 130 or 170 jobs that those people can also reapply for. Lots of angst at the public broadcast, and we'll follow that story and keep you updated.